Hello, Sebastian here from Twin Peaks. In this video, we are going to take a look at the first option in the ZoneFinder, specifically how we can display things, namely the MaxWick setting. This setting is intended to show us shadows that do not exceed a maximum length. Let's open it up here. MaxWick Calculation. Here we specify the maximum size of the wick in ticks. The default value here is 10, which you can adjust as you wish. This means that I want to see shadows or wicks that are no larger than 10 ticks. We only see something once we have reloaded the whole thing here, and only when we make changes. This means that we now have the option to activate separately for bearish bars, for bullish bars, and also for dojis, what we want to see. For the bearish bar, i.e. here for all red bars, for example, we would like to see the wicks either at the top and bottom, only at the top, i.e. top, only bottom, or the longer of the two. We can set this for all of them. For this example, let's just say that we only want to see wicks at the top of the bearish bars that are a maximum of 10 ticks in size. We can also set it for bullish bars, and let's just take the bottom for this example. We do not want to see dojis at all. A doji, by definition, is here when open equals close and we have no effective body. Break levels at session end means that when the session is over at the end of the day, the levels also stop. So that we can now see something here, we need further settings. Let's start here with presentation. Here we now have the option to say Colorize Bars. If this is activated, the bars are colored in the color that I specify here, and thus highlighted more clearly. I will now go to Update here. Reload NinjaScript. Always takes a moment. And now we can already see that levels have formed here with the red, i.e. the bearish bars. Always only at the top where the wick is no longer than 10 ticks. So here, for example, it is not formed here because this wick is significantly longer than 10 ticks. You can already see the difference. We have thick lines and thin lines. The thick lines have not yet been tested. The thin lines have already been tested. If I go into the settings, then I can now set other things here. Well, for example, Colorize Bars. If I activate this, another menu opens and I can now have the bars colored in a selected color. I now stick to this purple, update it for myself, and press F on the keyboard. It's quicker than clicking the whole thing. Now we can already see all bars that meet the conditions are now colored purple. But now I can no longer tell which bars are bullish and which are bearish. So I'll take that out again. Update it again so that we have our normal colors again. If we want to set even more here, we can say the bar break level direction mode, for example. Here we now have the option of saying whether the bar that breaks and thus ends a line must have a certain direction. So I can say that lines are only broken by bars, for example here, which are negative or positive. This can be very interesting for some constellations in certain range charts. And I also have the level direction mode. And I can also see where the wick should be located, whether at the top or bottom, depending on whether it is in the same or opposite direction. This is also a very exciting function, for example, to filter rejections very, very clearly. I can also specify a start time here, i.e. from when these lines should be broken, AEG, only from the start of the US session, from the start of the Asia session, and the time in the chart is always taken into account, i.e. your local time. In the visibility mode, I can say whether I only want to see the broken, only the unbroken, or all levels. So here too is a very helpful function. At the bottom, I also have the option of setting the corresponding colors and line thicknesses and whether they should be dashed or solid, depending on to separate these levels. For example, I can have some lines displayed very thickly here, if it is important to me, and others a little thinner. This can be helpful for me, for my trading approach. I can also have text labels displayed, and then I can also see the corresponding prices that are interesting for me here, because perhaps particularly short rejections in certain charts are very important for me. I can then have this marked accordingly here and then. Again, set text sizes and colors. I am now switching this off for this. and going back to the normal strengths here so that this doesn't bother us any further. If you use the Pro version of our ZoneFinder, you also have this option here, Signal. I can display signals here. This is particularly exciting if, for example, I want to trade breakouts, false breakouts. If I have marked certain levels like this, with the help of this function, I want to be notified. So I go to body touch here, for example. I close this up here once again. We now have the levels. And now say body touch here, all right. I want, if such a level is broken by a candle body, for example here, then I want to receive a signal. So here, calculate signal. I always have the description in here, what it is for. Off. No signals are calculated. The setting, here I have MaxWick, MinWick, and both, i.e. both. And if I take a look at the description here, then I see that if I set the whole thing to MaxWick, a signal is only generated if the current bar has fulfilled the criteria for MaxWick and has broken a MaxWick level with its buddy. This means that if I want to have this signal bar here, I have to set Wamkites 2, which meets the criteria for MaxWick. Fulfill. And we can already see from the line here that the criterion has been met, otherwise there wouldn't be this marker. So I'll set this to MaxWick. Then I also have the bar close mode option. That also opens again. Say body wick or bar. So in this case, body. A signal is generated when a generated level is broken by a bar and the close of the current bar is in the body of the generating bar, for example. So the close would have to be in the body of this bar here. And so we also have a lot of filter options here that we can play with. For our example, we leave this off, but we would still like to see a marker, which we now have here. And to see this, I press F again in the chart. And then it takes a little moment. The whole thing is reloaded. And we now see here, markers have been generated accordingly, according to the criteria we have. Would like, because here, at this red bar, the body with bar close breaks the level that we have here. And then a marker is shown to us, also here, this positive bar. Also here, the body itself breaks. This level itself fulfills the conditions that there is a wick of a maximum of 10 ticks at the bottom. So we have set this, in this case, 0, and thus generates a signal. And we can continue to do this here for all the different variants. I'll switch this off again for body touch. We can also do this for wick touch so that the whole thing is only displayed here. For example here, if such a level was broken by a wick, i.e. if there was a rejection here. So I also leave the wick touch on MaxWick, show signal marker, and update it once. And then I have my signals here again, corresponding to where I want it to be. In this case here, at the point, because we have the level at the top here, and break the level here accordingly, must be the same direction as, and then this also works for the short signal because we come from above here. We also have this here accordingly. Here we also break it here at the top. Here we break and so we get there very, very well. This is then for wick touch the signal. For bar close inside, we also have that here again. I switch this to MaxWick, and in bar close mode, we also have body, wick, and bar. As I said, the settings are all described here. I don't want to bore you with the settings now, but with the bar close inside simply means that we want to see the close within of the wick. And if I activate that, then we can see that straight away. I'll now do another F here to update it, and then we'll see that straight away. Here, for example, we have the close. This is the close of the bar, and it is within this wick, which has generated a signal here. We can also see this here. Here is the close within this wick. So you can see some really nice examples here. This is relatively rare, but it is very important for some chart types and for some trading approaches that we can use it to look at rejections. So you see, it doesn't happen that often, this variant, but we had two examples here. I'll scroll back where we had this. You can see that there, and we can actually cover many, many cases with this and then work with it. In the next video, we'll take another quick look at the whole thing for the calculation of MinWick, Sachi Wei, Jena Bai, Chi.